The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Colin Gray did not kill anyone, yet he is on trial for murder connected to a school shooting. Colin is a single dad of 3 children. One of them is Colt Gray, a teenager who authorities say shot up his school, killing 4 and wounding 7 others. Now Colin has been accused of purchasing the murder weapon for his son after being told about his son's prior threats, and he's charged with murder. Tonight, we have the latest from inside the courtroom in this heartbreaking and controversial trial. But first, another day and more new developments in the search for Nancy Guthrie in Tucson. It is the biggest true crime mystery in the nation, and everyone is wondering, who is the man behind the mask? Was he working alone? And is he connected to the ransom notes? Why did he take Nancy Guthrie from her home? Pressure is now mounting on law enforcement to solve the case, find a suspect, and bring Nancy home. Tonight, we take a look at all the new developments, including a new ransom note. Is the kidnapping for money theory still in play? We'll take a look as the search for Nancy Guthrie continues. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And the search for Nancy Guthrie continues tonight. You know, we start these shows off each night, and things are probably changing behind the scenes, right? There's progress, I hope, but she's still not home. This is an 84-year-old woman who was taken in the middle of the night. Why? Why would he do it? Why would this masked man go into the house and take Nancy Guthrie? It's such a fundamental question for this whole thing, but it's a question that has not been answered. In most kidnappings, it becomes very obvious very quickly. Or in a murder case, it becomes obvious very quickly. Or in a child abduction, like you kind of get it. Here, that part of it is still a huge mystery. Why she's actually removed from her home in the middle of the night by this guy behind the mask, and whoever else may be associated with all of this. There have been ransom letters, sent to TMZ and local media, but the TMZ conversation seems to be continuing more. That's strange. That is bizarre. And I know it's 2026, right? We don't get a ton of huge public kidnapping cases, right? It doesn't happen that often, not to this scale. But this is weird, no matter how you dice it and slice it. Like, if you're looking for a ransom and you're sending notes to TMZ, nothing against TMZ, but like, why are you sending them to TMZ? How is that the conduit to try to get paid if, in fact, you have Nancy Guthrie? Most people think it doesn't make any sense. Is it a sign of the times? Is that where we are in 2026? That everything's going to work through some strange way so you don't get tracked down? You don't want direct communication with law enforcement or direct communication with the family? So you're going to communicate through Harvey Levin? It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. But the ransom letters were sent, and we know there's a series of them, and we know that Savannah Guthrie and her siblings, they responded, but they didn't pay. So I don't know if they believe they're real or if they think, well, maybe there's a chance, but we want to hear more. Proof of life, maybe something that indicates that, yeah, you've got our mom. You're not just someone contacting TMZ in hopes of a big Bitcoin or cryptocurrency payday. It's never played out this way before. And why is it? Is it still in play, this whole notion that Nancy was taken for money? It was a kidnapping for money. Right? Like an old-fashioned kidnapping in modern times. We take someone, we demand money, you pay the money, maybe you get her back, maybe you don't. Today, TMZ reportedly received another ransom note. Take a listen to what Harvey Levin said about the latest email.
This is a highly sophisticated demand involving a form of crypto, not Bitcoin. Now, it is demanding roughly the same amount as the demand letter we received, shortly after the kidnapping, the $6 million demand. The demand graphically describes the consequences if the demand is not met.
Is this connected to the other demands? Is it someone completely different? Is it some notorious actor from the United States or overseas or somewhere else who knows how to work crypto, who knows how to hide their identity, in these types of communications? And they're just trying to get some quick money in all of this? Let's bring in the think tank. Joining me live in studio tonight, criminal defense attorney, former assistant state attorney in Miami-Dade County and former assistant DA in Atlanta, Daryl Cohen, along with criminal defense attorney, law professor Meg Strickler, and the man behind the glasses, criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. Is it in play? Like, there's no other, or there are other potential, but this is like the obvious explanation. It's a kidnapping for money. It's the kidnapping of someone who comes from a family that has access to money.
I think what was initially intended, by the way, I was wrong. I thought 2 weeks ago we would have an arrest within 48 hours. Dead wrong I was. And I'm afraid Nancy Guthrie is dead. Unless and until they show proof of current life, the family, no one is going to give any money, in my view. This is just horrendous, and it's terrible what it's done to Nancy, perhaps even worse what it's done to the family.
And if you can send a message, right, and I think Daryl has a great point here. Not the first time. I mean, like every time you're here, you have a great point, but this is another one of them. The proof of life doesn't have to be a video of Nancy Guthrie. It can just be Nancy providing some tidbit of information that only her and her daughters or her and her son would know. Mm-hmm. And apparently they're not doing that.
Which is pretty telling, don't you think?
Very telling. Makes me very skeptical. Oh, we're going to do this, this, and this. Okay, yeah, we get that. And it's horrible, and it's terrible. And yes, it's probably cruel to Savannah and Ann and Annie and to Cameron. But at the end of the day, it's very simple to provide proof of life here.
It sure is. And remember that these letters, these ransom letters, they're chasing them all down. And so they'll be able to
trying to.
No, I'm talking about the FBI trying to see who sent them. I don't think
they're trying to, but I don't know if they can.
Oh, they will.
I don't know if they will. I don't know if they can.
They will, because I think there's going to be multiple culprits who may not be involved with the kidnapping or Nancy Guthrie. And those folks are going to be brought, and they'll be picked up sooner than you think.
There'll be a lot of prosecutions, yes, regardless of when, if and when we locate the perp of this or the perps.
Because I don't think that's smart. I don't think the folks that are doing the TMZ, now the bad guy could be doing TMZ, but I think there are multiple people who are copycatting, enjoying their kind of, 15 minutes of whatever, and those folks are not savvy with tech.
Yeah, and that's the important part, is I think that we're definitely dealing with now multiple different groups. We've never been able to identify with any integrity that there's a person, a group, an identifiable entity that actually committed this crime. What we've got are a bunch of missives that have been almost comically delivered in the variety, the change. It really is put together like a teenager in his basement banging out, oh, look at me messing with the system, where that person has no connection to actually Nancy Guthrie. And the Nancy Guthrie investigation went from frightening to frustrating to now I'm angry, because it got mishandled from the first couple of days. We were on your show, Vinnie, right when this happened. And we were, oh, this is going to end up going away real quick because, man, these kidnappings, if it's for money, they want to move it fast. If it's a crazy guy, they're going to figure that out real quick. There's surveillance. And we've seen that. But we also saw just the utter failure.
Day
of
18.
law
We're on
enforcement.
day 18.
Which is shocking.
I want to
It's
go
gross.
through the timeline relative to the ransom notes, because there's been a bunch of them, right? So February 1st is when Nancy Guthrie is reported missing. February 3rd, 2 days later, TMZ and local media outlets in Tucson receive a ransom note demanding several $1 million in Bitcoin by specific deadlines. Next day, Savannah and her siblings post a video asking kidnappers to contact them. February 4th, Annie Guthrie and her husband received text messages from an unknown number asking for Bitcoin. These messages are determined to be unrelated and a hoax. That sender was arrested and charged, got out on bond, but that person's been dealt with by law enforcement. The next day, February 5th, Cameron, the brother, releases a video asking for contact with the kidnappers. February 7th, Savannah and her siblings, this is as the deadline is getting closer, release a video message saying they will pay. February 11th, TMZ receives a new email demanding Bitcoin in exchange for information about the kidnapper. This is not a ransom, this is a so-called tipster who is sending this, but demanding Bitcoin, and it's different than the first email. February 13th, TMZ receives a third email, this one demanding $100,000 in exchange for information about the kidnapper. Again, the supposed tipster. February 16th, TMZ receives the fourth email claiming to know what happened to Nancy Guthrie and demanding confidential payment for their information. And now on February 18th, TMZ receives a fifth email demanding cryptocurrency other than Bitcoin. The email demands a dollar amount similar to the $6 million. The email graphically describes the consequences if not paid. Now, Harvey Levin, who has seen all of these communications, right, describes this one as much more sophisticated and elaborate. And Bitcoin is the most traceable of all the cryptocurrency, but this one goes to a different cryptocurrency.
Well, remember criminals and wallet IDs. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Bitcoin's been around and cryptocurrency's been around for a decade. They know how to sift it and mine it and have it go places where none of us are ever going to see. So, duh. I mean, I'm not worried about that. We're not going to be able to find that, and that's why this email now is somebody a little more sophisticated in cryptocurrency, but. That's not the issue here. I think that if we could get proof of life, then they might even pay that $6 million.
Well, I think they would.
Yes.
Oh, they'd pay it in a heartbeat.
Yes.
And really, what the real clue in there is, all right, so now we've got a big change in the tone, tenure, sophistication of this fourth email that may be from...
Fifth.
No, it's not from the same people. If you've suddenly changed, gotten all technical, done the deep dive, man, that just screams this is yet another opportunistic scammer, scamming the scammers out of the scam. The moment you put money in the air, people will chase
So
it.
now let's pull back the big picture now. Okay, scammers over here, schemers over here. But somebody took Nancy. And it comes back to that question, why?
I think what may have happened, and I emphasize the word may, it may have been a kidnapping for money, and it went sour. It went south quickly. Nancy may have been killed. They found her blood at her house. She may not have been. She may have died.
Wait, is what you're saying that the actual kidnappers who may have had a plan never actually made a demand because Nancy didn't survive?
I would not bet a lot of money on it, but I think that's one plausible theory. And now they are in hiding because they want not to be connected.
He doesn't look highly professional.
No.
I'm sorry, he doesn't.
And let's play out this. Using that same logic, yeah, random, non-sophisticated guy's going to do a standard burglary, ends up with a woman inside. There's some sort of conflict. She's injured. He's covering his tracks, ripping everything off the walls, running away, has to bring her because now he's committed a violent crime against a person, not a burglary. Not a robbery, no. Now there's an ag assault. Now there's potentially a murder or an ag battery attached to it. Guy's terrified, bundles up the 84-year-old lady, sticks her in the car, runs fast, doesn't even know she's related to someone famous. Then when that news breaks, all kinds of random people come out with whatever story they want that they realize the Harvey Levins and the rest of the universe will be very interested.
Why would a burglar And why would a burglar have a gun dangling from their waist?
I think this burglar was not meant to be a burglar. I really believe, based on the evidence and the lack of evidence, and we know what we don't know, unfortunately, is that he had planned, whether by himself or with others involved, to kidnap her, get money, and knew he had been there before, because how would he absolutely have the tools to remove a Ring camera unless he knew it was there?
It wasn't a ring, it was a nest.
A nest, I'm sorry.
I don't know if you need a special tool for a nest.
But you need
ring,
something.
you do.
But you need something.
You need something. But he grabbed the potted plant.
Rip it off the wall. But that's what makes me go, he's not a professional.
Look at
because
him.
he's got a backpack filled with Lord knows what.
He does have the bite light, though.
Yeah, for all we know,
mouth.
that's a backpack full of money, bags with money signs on them that he's going to stuff with loot like a cartoon and jump out and run away. Then he runs into unexpected problems, being Nancy Guthrie, and his whole plan goes terrible. Stop using logic when it comes to our clients.
Right.
They're not
but she's
logical
removed.
people.
That's the unusual part. If something goes south, like let's say the burglar's mask comes off and now she can identify him.
Just for argument's sake, oh my, don't do terrible things to me. Don't you know who my daughter is?
Can I throw
She's
in,
famous.
Can I throw in methamphetamines?
Oh, yeah, geez, we haven't even gotten to that.
You can have any kind of
All
storyline
right, let me put
here.
this up. This is also from TMZ. Law enforcement sources involved in the investigation tell us, meaning TMZ, the FBI has contacted Mexican federal law enforcement to spread the word to various police agencies. So we're told so far there have been no solid leads. Our sources say the FBI believes it's possible Nancy was taken across the border, but it's unlikely it happened directly after the kidnapping. Authorities have checked Border Patrol cameras and other electronic devices, and they came up dry. That said, our sources say it's possible Nancy could have been taken across the border at some other time. Of course, there are always ways to evade authorities when crossing.
There sure is.
border.
Our borders are porous, and we have drug trafficking cartels who know how to get drugs across into our country super easy. So this could be related to that. I don't think it is, but it could be. And those folk know how to get stuff across the border rather easily.
I don't like the fact that this is coming from TMZ. I don't like it because I don't.
What's coming from TMZ?
So much of this information coming through.
Oh, they're
TMZ.
working all their sources. I mean, there's other people that are getting sources. News Nation has sources. We have some sources. Our local affiliates have sources. Everybody's reporting things.
I understand that, but I would prefer to hear it from the FBI. I would prefer to hear it from the local sheriff. That way I know what we're hearing is legitimate as opposed supposedly.
No, I'm going to go with Harvey Levin's. That's real. I think these are real letters that are being received.
Oh,
and
clearly.
the Pinellas County Sheriff is giving statements. I mean, they are saying
Sometimes
stuff.
his statements are contrary.
my bad.
Pima County.
That's Florida.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Harvey Levin is not telling the truth. I'm saying I don't like the fact that
You don't trust the sources.
I don't trust the
Also,
sources.
when it comes to statements like it's possible they went to the list of stuff that's possible under our government is pretty endless. There's possibly lots of things that happen.
So are they just checking anywhere and everywhere? Because I mean, that Pima County is very close to the border.
It's very close, and it would be presumptuous to think they wouldn't notify the border authorities. I'm sure it's part
Would
of
it
their
be
standard
easier
operating
to
policy.
hold her in Mexico than it would be to hold her in the United States?
I don't think she's alive. I think it's a moot question.
I think there's a lot less scrutiny across the border in Mexico because they got a lot of other things going on. It's a separate universe over there. It's a different country.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Josh with what you said. I agree.
I don't think they have anything ill or are welcoming her or corruption. No, but I think that if I go across the border to Mexico with something that I'm trying to hide, easier to hide it there than over here.
I disagree. Caucasians in Mexico, less easy to hide.
Yeah, right next to the border.
I got enough ex
everything.
parte friends that cross the border
Yes.
like you're going over to
I got a
Gwinnett
couple
County.
clients there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're noticed.
But they're noticed.
Noticed.
They're noticed.
But what's easier than to hide in plain sight? How many times have we seen that?
Yep.
Hiding in plain sight with people that look like you, act like you
I'll
is a
stop. I
lot
think
more
everybody's a
simple
big
than hiding in plain
pot of
sight.
Darryl made another good point. We're keeping score tonight.
That's two. Can we
All
get a counter?
Yeah, stay where you are. Think tank stand. When we come back, investigators back at Nancy Guthrie's house and the neighbor's house. We'll talk about that. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, we continue our in-depth coverage into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Is it possible Nancy has been removed from the country and is south of the border in Mexico? Tonight, we investigate.
The Court TV podcast will return.
When did the first ransom note arrive? And the reason I ask is because the Apple Watch has been in the news and on social media, and you could see like floodlights on video. So was it before those things were out in the world?
I don't have the specific time frame as I sit here today of what time it came in, but that you are right. Anyone could see a floodlight hanging down, could have seen some of those things. The watch has been talked about, so that timing is tricky, but that's why we're taking it serious no matter what and following the leads on that.
And that was one of the big issues in the original ransom note, right? Was providing some information that only a person that was inside could provide. But proof of life is something else that you could provide for credibility, and they haven't. Law enforcement officials were back in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood conducting follow-up on Tuesday. CNN obtained video of an investigator examining a Ring camera floodlight at Nancy's neighbor's house. The founder and chief inventor of Ring, Jamie Siminoff, made an appearance on Out Front with Aaron Burnett, where he answered questions about what investigators could gather from that physical evidence.
Does appear to be a Ring floodlight camera. Again, it's pretty small in the picture, but it does appear to be one of our floodlight cameras. The footage would be in the cloud if it was there. So I maybe they're looking at the angle of it, or why.
That's what I was wondering. It was like you don't physically need to be at that camera to get what would be in the cloud.
So, yeah,
right?
I'm not really sure like what they're definitely. I mean, they're doing something.
Should we be surprised that at day 17? They're out there looking at cameras?
You would have thought that was day one.
None of us are surprised. We're criminal defense lawyers. We see that all the time.
Really?
When we talk about the way that cases get ruined, it's because of failures to perform adequately at the beginning. When we pick apart an investigation, it's because we get to ask questions like, you waited 17 days before going and getting that camera inspected, right?
Yeah, oh, this is your first case and those kinds of things. There's all the things that we look for, and there's a lot of them here.
But as a former prosecutor, I understand you look for everything, and then you come back and you look for more everything, and then you come back and look at it from a different angle. So I am not surprised, but those do give defense lawyers great questions.
But why are they at the actual camera? I mean, you subpoena all this junk. You don't need to be at the actual camera. It is cloud-based. Like, I don't understand why they're at the actual camera.
Absolutely. And when the prosecution loses, we had a really tough investigation that we had to deal with. We had to work with the facts that we were provided as the independent prosecuting agency, and unfortunately, there were errors that were discovered at the initiation of this investigation that made our job extraordinarily difficult. That's why we couldn't get the justice that we would otherwise be able to achieve had everybody done their job properly.
100% of every single case I've ever had, there have been holes, there have been mistakes, and there have been misplaced stuff, deleted stuff, lost stuff, 100% of the time.
And they're never perfect.
Right.
Prosecution is never going to be perfect. Practicing medicine, practicing law, they don't say perfected medicine or perfected law, it's practice.
It's not perfect. It's beyond a reasonable doubt, and we've now got courts of appeals who endlessly make apologies for that
This
stuff.
is different than a prosecution. This is an urgent search for a missing person, right? So this, to me, this is a little bit different. Like, it'll show up if they ever catch anyone and charge them, right? All of that becomes very relevant and a part of it, and sort of shows us how they approach this. But in a situation where you may be able to save someone's life.
But they're doing, I mean, I will say they are subpoenaing everything they can, and they're doing the DNA thing, and they try to look at the gloves, and they're doing all of these things. Those things do take time, and we got to give them that time.
Right, but why are they back at the neighbor's house?
Remember,
so many days later.
What if saving the life violated a whole bunch of procedures and rights? Now, I'm going to tell you, you violate the procedures and rights, and who cares about a criminal prosecution? Go save a life. But we know that law enforcement is trained. Don't do that, even if it could save a life, because you'll ruin our future prosecution.
I disagree.
If they wanted to save
Josh.
lives, they wouldn't think about prosecution. They'd save lives.
I disagree with you, Josh. I think when they were called, they went out to do everything they could at the time they could do. They did everything they could, and they thought about it, and then there was more. And then they thought about it. Let's look at it from this angle, different angle. All of that makes a difference. It's very easy for us to sit here and speculate as to what they could and should have done.
But in an abduction, like, to me, everyone's got a camera now, right? Like, yes, it takes time to get the cell phone tower and do all of that stuff, but it's very easy to just go neighbor to neighbor. Can I look at your video?
Yes. And very clearly, they didn't do everything they could do.
Right.
Because they're at the neighbor's house.
Because they could have sent Officer Bob over, go canvass every house on this street and ask if they got a ring and get those for us.
And get the video and watch them with the neighbor.
Yeah, seriously, my next door neighbor would be lit up with who's got a ring. Like
we all have that neighbor.
We all have that neighbor,
and they all want to help. Like everyone that's speaking to the neighbors,
are you kidding me?
They want
but
to help.
Those tips are coming in. Even your show puts the 800.
Right, but how about on day 2?
But they're all
day 2, day 1, looking at videos. Like, that's an obvious thing.
And that's why law
and
enforcement...
an easy thing to do as well.
I don't know why they're at that house. That part does not make sense.
No.
Fox News Digital has learned that mysterious Google searches for Nancy's address and Savannah's salary occurred before her disappearance.
As long as
Google
Google
Trends records show there was one search for Guthrie's address in the Catalina foothills between June 21st and 28th, 25 by someone in Arizona. The address was searched once again on January 11th, 2026. January 11th is a date that has been identified by law enforcement. That is one of the dates they are interested in video from.
See, that's where the proof is going to be in the forensics. That is important stuff. We do have James Bond abilities to do good searches and learn things forensically, okay? So we have all of the traffic cams. We have the Easy Pass. We have all of the like you said, the Ring cameras and all the neighbors put in their stuff. And then you have to put it into a pot. And that kind of stuff is really useful. And so they're all...
There is somebody who searched for the address between June 21st and 28th.
And they knocked on that guy's door already.
And then the address was searched once again on January 11th, 2026.
So out of the couple million people that live in this state that would have access to a computer, would there be a reason to search for somebody's address, someone who happens to be famous? I promise you that the randomness, the chaos theory would pump out a couple of inquiries just because of the sample size.
And they've been to that guy's house already.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
You think so?
Oh,
they've identified
that Google search was chased down in 4 seconds.
But when and if we find those who committed this horrible crime, all of that evidence will be in piece by piece. That by itself means nothing, but added to it means a great deal. And the more the tapestry, as Meg points out, is there, the more we'll see exactly what happened. And I pray that it's going to be sooner.
You think Google gave that information up?
Oh, yeah, in a heartbeat.
It's called a subpoena, and they give it fast. Oh, no, don't get me on my soapbox how fast Meta and Google will give the government, Apple, all of them.
The government.
Exigent circumstances. And notice how part of this evidence is, even though that camera didn't have a subscription, wasn't working, needless to say, they suddenly found all that footage, which then made all my conspiracy theory universe go, told you those cameras are always on.
Thank you.
And in our job, we're calling all the time. Can we get that? Can we get an open record?
Never.
Weeks, months for a response.
We are bitter.
Like when certain people went to jail in Fulton County, they checked in and out of the jail in 45 minutes, when normally it takes 12 hours.
You're not
in the
talking
Karen
about
Reed
the
trial,
Trump
they were
case.
unable to track down Google. It was difficult. It's tough to get through to Google.
Unless you're a cop.
Not if you're the government. It's much easier. Law enforcement can get through where the common lawyer, whoever he, she, they may be, cannot.
All right. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. Another trial you're watching here on Court TV. A father of an accused school shooter is on trial. He's on trial for murder before his son, who's the accused shooter, was on trial for murder. It's happening in Georgia. We'll talk about it next.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
In that 14-year-old boy's bedroom, on the wall, they find this. This shrine, for a better word. Those pictures are all of the same person, Nicholas Cruz. Nicholas Cruz was the person that in 2018 went into Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, with an AR-style rifle. And there he killed 17 students and faculty and wounded another 17 more. Investigators look at this and they begin to wonder, who is this kid?
Wow. Could you imagine your child having a shrine to a school shooter in his room, and then you purchase a weapon for him? And all this is happening, months after police had gone to your house to talk about a threat to shoot up the school, and your son denied it at the time, and police didn't arrest or charge you for it, but they did come to you about it, Well, that's the situation that Colin Gray is in. His son, Colt, is accused of shooting up a school in Georgia, killing 4, wounding 7 others. But the father is on trial first, and he's charged with murder in this case, second-degree murder. Let's take a look at what happened today.
So you're trying to find this student that you don't know what he looks like?
Correct.
What steps do you do to try and do that?
So we are trying to first get a visual of him when he left the classroom. So we were trying to nail down what time he left the classroom so we knew where to look on the cameras.
And what is that?
This is Ms. Greer's email to me at 10/22/04 saying he just came back to class.
That came at 10/22/04. How soon after that entered did you see it?
Oh, immediately.
How soon after you saw that did you hear shots? Or did you hear shots?
Definitely heard shots. Once I saw this, the location of my office is in with the atrium. I've got windows right there, and the SROs were, now there were 3 of them. And so all 3 of them were in the atrium, and so I was trying to get their attention through the window and realized quickly that wasn't going to work. So I was exiting my office when I heard gunshots.
Okay. How many shots did you hear?
Couldn't tell you.
When we make the turn and turn right down the hall, Deputy King and I are presented with a lot of smoke and dust in the hallway. The concussion from the AR firing and the drop ceiling, the dust and everything shook down, making it very hard to see. All I could make out was a dark or black silhouette in the smoke toward the end of the hall. I want to say somewhere in here, one of the victims was laying in the hallway. Because of the smoke and the dust and everything, I initially thought it was a duffel bag until I got close enough. Once we got pretty close to Colt, we were able to see that he was a student. The AR was down in front of him. He was compliant. We were able to get him down. While doing that, I was able to take multiple full magazines for the AR-15 out of his pockets and kind of secure those out of the way.
You come upon a room where there is victims.
Correct.
Which room is that?
This is Ryan's classroom.
Are you one of the first ones there?
Yes, sir.
Describe the scene in Miss Ryan's room when you arrived.
There are a bunch of bullet holes in the wall. I looked down to my right-hand side, closest to the door. I observed a human-like object laying on the ground motionless. Went and checked on him and deemed he was deceased. No amount of medical care could save him. and then there's a few other victims in that room, and then one student called my attention and said, she just went out. So I went over to that student, picked her up.
Do you know now what student's name was?
Her name was Taylor Jones. I went up to Miss Taylor Jones and I observed her. She was laying motionless. She was white as a sheet. Her lips were blue. I wasn't exactly sure. So I picked her up and started making my way to the door. So I made my way to the door. A stretcher was right next to that door. I laid her on the stretcher myself, and Lieutenant Woody started to look, see where she was hit. I lifted her shirt to see if she was hit anywhere in the upper torso region. Lieutenant Woody went down around her lower, like her legs and all that. And the RTF member came up, and then I immediately left and started checking more classrooms.
Okay. They're trying they're telling the jury everything that happened, right? Everything that his son allegedly did. Is anyone concerned that this is an overreach, or is this what is needed to perhaps create some awareness and some level of deterrence that parents are responsible?
I 1,000% agree this is the right reach. Parents are responsible for their kids. They cannot be responsible for every move, good or bad, that their child or children make. But when you provide your child with the ability to commit mass murder, especially after seeing what was on his wall as a shrine, especially after being warned months before, this is the right reach.
I'm very pro-prosecution on this one. And if you just think about when you have alcohol parties and you have, the parents supply alcohol, those folks are almost always held accountable. This is on a whole other level. The shrine, I think, is the worst.
I think there's a slight difference, though. Like, providing alcohol is illegal.
Provide the gun.
No, but you can buy a gun for your child.
The AR,
like that's not, that in and of itself is not illegal.
Yeah, but the assault rifle, and he's underage. I don't know what the rules are, but I just.
Oh no, it's absolutely legal.
It's legal, but alcohol is not legal, so there's a slight difference there.
But it's still.
I'm not defending it. I'm just trying to make the distinction.
I hear you, and you are correct. I just think that if you're going to hold parents accountable for certain actions, this is one that is 100% spot on, and they indicted it properly with the proper charges. And this trial is going through the humanization of the horrible aspect of this crime. And that will make the jury come back with a guilty, in my humble opinion.
And this is what troubles me, this video, because the discussion that's had here, it's not taken seriously. And even the officers who are responding are not taking it seriously. Now, it's 16 months before the shooting. But this is a huge red flag if police show up at your house and say your son's talking about shooting up the school.
You don't buy him a gun.
You've got to take notice. I understand you're a single dad. You got 3 kids. You're working hard. You're working, 12 hours a day. I get all that.
Yeah, I'm a single
but at the end
mom
of
with
the
2
day,
teenagers. Don't even go there.
Right.
I'm not buying them guns. I'm sorry. This one really upsets me.
Yeah, here's the real issue. If it didn't involve a fundamental constitutional right, everybody would unanimously be all about parental accountability. Mm-hmm. The only pushback I'm hearing are from people very concerned about how this, because it involves Second Amendment issues, can be used and abused by our court system, our legislatures, et cetera, who, let's just say, nobody trusts.
But let's also put the racial issue in here, the race card. If this was a different color of those folks right there, this would not have happened as well. We'd already be putting people in jail and convicting them.
You can compound this out, and Meg's right, because let me just be honest. If this had happened in one of my more urban communities, the police wouldn't have said, hey, notice something weird about your kid. No, they would have searched the kid's house, room, rousted mom and dad, treated them really poor. Only because this was in a community where firearms are such an integral part, and it tends to be homogenous, and they tend to think those kinds of problems don't happen out in communities like this, showing their prejudice and their bigotry, that good communities don't have these problems. Well, they do.
How could Dad not have known after warning after warning after warning that his son was prone to do something wrong? No one, I think, could imagine what was going to happen. But clearly you could imagine what could happen.
You saw the flags. We talk about red flags. These were huge red flags, and there should have been something.
And you and I can agree on that, but the pro-freedom crowd is gonna say, none of that matters. It's all irrelevant. This dad didn't do anything.
Exactly. He did nothing.
Yeah, that could inculpate him or make him responsible for the crime of a third person. Now, I believe the state has a very strong foundation to move forward under the statute. My real question is, what's the legislative response after this case? Because I foresee legislatures nationally going, all right, let's ramp up accountability to get away from the sticky constitutional issues, because other states don't want this case. This case in Texas is a disaster.
No one wants this type of case.
Yeah, I agree.
Follow up, Meg, and you said the appropriate charge. What do you mean?
Well, they did the second-degree murder, and they also did the cruelty to children, and they were able to do it with all the laws that we have that are, I don't want to say unique, but we all understand the cruelty to children charge, and we understand how the fact that these children were killed now makes it be able to go to second-degree murder, because it's a felony now with the cruelty to children. And it's a little hard to explain in 2 seconds, but that is, they can do it with a jury charge, and it will work, because they charged it properly.
We need to keep the KISS method. Keep it short, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. I'm not saying the jurors are stupid. They should not have to go through all sorts of machinations to figure out whether or not they believe based upon the evidence.
But this is unusual, right? We're holding someone responsible really for the actions of someone else.
First time ever in Georgia, and basically the second time in the nation. And we watched the first time with
Florida.
Ethan Crumbley. No, it was Crumbley in Michigan.
Oh, that's right.
And that resulted in convictions with excellent lawyers representing.
Great job. Speaking of excellent, Josh Schiffer, Meg Strickler, Darryl Cohen, thank you so much. When we come back, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, as the search for Nancy Guthrie and her abductors continues, we take a look at the mask. How unique is it? And will investigators be able to figure out where it was purchased? Tonight, we investigate.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Oh, who is that? Is that Zuckerberg Facebooking the jury? Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg testifying at a trial. He's one of the defendants. His company Meta and YouTube defendants. A woman is accusing the social media companies of addicting their children to their platforms. It was a duel in the LA courtroom. Where Zuckerberg answered questions about young people's use of Instagram, his congressional testimony, and internal advice he's received to be authentic and not robotic on the witness stand. How much would we have liked to have seen that testimony? But it's in federal court, so you're not going to see it. The plaintiff is 20 years old, seeking to hold them responsible. TikTok and Snap settled in this case, but it looks like YouTube and the company formerly known as Facebook is taking it to the jury. All right, folks, take a look at your screen. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Emma Lynn Black. Emma is missing from Amarillo, Texas. She's only 14 years old. If you see Emma Lynn, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Amarillo Police Department in Texas. That phone number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Emma Lynn to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids. There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.